Welcome to On the Table with Ashley, a podcast where we speak with thought-provoking individuals on their varied life experiences and professions, covering any topic we can put on the table with the goal of increasing human connection through curiosity. We're transitioning out of our Death Ritual series, and so, as we normally do between series, we're releasing a palate cleanser. This is an episode that we originally released back in July of 2024 and are re-releasing an abbreviated version here for you to listen to today. If you want to listen to the full version, we'll link it in the show notes. Our guests today are Ann Martin and Emily Schum of Get Organized PC, a Park City-based lifestyle organizing business built on the idea that clear spaces create clear minds. Together, they help clients simplify, declutter, and design sustainable systems that transform overwhelm into ease. Ann brings a background in psychology and retail, while Emily spent nearly 15 years in forensic science before joining the business. In this episode, we explore the emotional and practical sides of getting organized and why the process can be as powerful as the result. Enjoy.
So I always like to start hearing a little bit about your childhood and what kind of kid you were. So if you could each share a little bit, that would be amazing.
Sure. You start. Okay. Well, I grew up in Southern California, 2 blocks from the ocean in the 70s and 80s. So my childhood was incredible. It's funny because I shared a room with my sister, Chris Hanneman, who I started the business with until she went into high school. And she was a hot mess. So I would get so mad at her because I wanted everything like in a certain way. And she would like throw her clothes all over the room. So I set up, we had this little blue and white gingham bench and I'd set it under the window. And I would say, okay, if you're going to throw your clothes, throw it on this bench. And once your clothes reach to the bottom of the windowsill, you have to put everything away.
Amazing.
And she's 7 years older than I am. So, you know, it's not like we were super close in age.
I was going to actually guess that you were older. That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's in the genes.
It's in the genes. So she's since grown out of that messiness, obviously, and is a very organized person. But I came out this way, for better or worse.
I grew up all over the country. I was a military brat. My dad was a naval aviator, and I think he instilled a lot of organization in me, more discipline, being on time, things like that. My mom too. My mom kept a very clean house, but I think for me, I was very good with time management skills and a schedule and things like that. I don't remember so much about my room, if it was super organized or not. I don't think I ever kept a lot of stuff, and every time we moved, it was like we got rid of things. Right. So, but I was very organized as far as my schedule, time management. I was good at school and an athlete, and I had to budget my time well to get things done. Yeah. So I think that just was instilled in me at a young age, but I don't really remember things like if I organized things well as a kid.
So do you have siblings?
I have one younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many times did you move?
Oh gosh. I honestly would have to count. Probably from birth to high school was about 10 times maybe.
Yeah, that's a lot. I
was born in California. Most of my family's lived in California. My adult life I spent in California, school, everything. But from birth to the end of high school, all over. So, but it was good. We lived in a lot of awesome places because he was in the Navy. We were usually on the coast. Yeah. Hawaii, Washington State.
Nice.
Virginia Beach, San Diego. So, yeah.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. I can see how the education in psychology and sales could contribute to success in this business. And in a strange way, I can see how forensic investigations could give you skills for this. But can you each talk a little bit about how your prior work influenced what you do now? And then maybe you can talk a little bit about what led you to starting Get Organized.
Absolutely. So I initially started my apparel career with Levi Strauss in merchandising. And as a merchandiser, you're kind of the nucleus of the go-to-market process. So you have to be very organized in making sure, design is getting you the designs on time, that you have the costing is on point, and that distribution is happening. And in the same time, you're also putting together assortments, making sure, you have the highs and lows in different shirts, patterns and solids. And that also translated a lot into when I was in sales. So initially that really helped me with closets because I can walk into a closet and I can like see it all. It almost like it flashes in front of me and I can see how everything needs to be assorted and done in your closet. And after my husband and I had our kiddo, I decided that I didn't want to work the hours in the apparel business. So I just kind of worked part-time jobs here and there. And I was working as a preschool teacher at the time and was having some health issues. And my doctor said, you know what, you can't work in the Petri dish anymore.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out what was going to happen next. And my sister and I had a friend who was going through a divorce and moving into a new home in Colorado. So we got in the car, we went and helped her, and we set up her whole home in a weekend. And she was so happy and so relieved. And she just said, you guys should do this as a business. And I was like, seriously? Is that a thing? And then we started doing research, and lo and behold, it was. And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Emily, what about you?
So I worked in forensic investigations for almost 15 years in LA and Northern California, Southern and Northern California, and thought that was going to be my lifelong career. I loved it. And then when we had our first kid, a lot changed, as it often does for especially moms. My perspective changed a lot. And again, like Anne was mentioning, long hours. I was on call at least a third of my life and missing a lot of holidays and important events. And just realizing that as much as I loved what I did, I didn't know how sustainable it would be forever. And then we had this move to Park City from California, which kind of changed everything. And then I was pregnant with my second when we moved to Park City. So stayed at home for a little while, which was great. I was lucky I got to make that choice and be there for his whole first year and a little bit longer. But I was not meant to be a stay-at-home mom. I just needed something a little more. And they kind of invited me to start working jobs with them. And I thought, this is crazy because it has nothing to do with what I did before. But they kind of convinced me, you could do this. They trusted me in the homes with people. They knew me. So that's how it started. And then a couple of years later, when Chris was kind of slowing down her work and working more as an artist, they asked if I wanted a partner. And although, back to your question, although it's totally different than crime scene investigation, there are some very odd parallels. And I kind of jokingly talk about these with people, but it's true. My entire career, I've spent going into strangers' homes and looking at their things and trying to figure out patterns or what's in place, what's out of place, just for totally different reasons. So I'm used to going into other people's homes. Crime scene investigation, you have to be very organized. If you're not, you lose a trial.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So,
and I assume you could lose evidence too.
Lose evidence. Everything has to be documented or very organized. In certain ways, yes, it's totally different than going into somebody's home, but for organizing a closet or something. But realistically, we had to be very organized in what we did in documentation and keeping track of things and figuring out a puzzle, basically. And it almost is like figuring out a puzzle, but for a different reason.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of parallels. And people, I think, get really anxious about having us in their homes sometimes. And I always joke, whether they know or not, what I used to do for a living, that unless you have a dead body in your closet, we're good. Like we're good. I'm all good with this. I've been in way more hoarder homes and crime scene situations than I have in organizing. Yeah.
I love how you talked about how the skills translate, both of you, and it makes so much sense. And then you combine your skills together. I think a lot of people probably don't really understand what you do. They might think like, oh, they'll help me organize my house or they'll help me prepare to move. But to me, that doesn't really do justice to what you guys do. So can you talk a little bit about the way that clients use your services and how you define success for your clients? And you could maybe give a couple of situations because I know you work in different situations.
Well, for example, we go into a project and, prior to starting the job, we have a consultation so we understand the scope of the job with our client. And then that also gives Emily and I an opportunity to discuss it prior to going in. So we have somewhat of a template in mind before proceeding. And we do have, like I said, templates in what we do. However, we cater what we do to every client depending on their needs and or the interest level. on how much they want to be a part of what we're doing. So a big part of what we do is helping people declutter, and that's the biggest thing, and that's also the hardest thing for most
That
people.
is the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and in that instance, we go through, we remove everything from wherever we're decluttering. So if it's a pantry, a kitchen, mudroom, closet, you name it, we go in, remove everything. We categorize it by type. And then if the client is willing to declutter and get rid of things, at that point, we bring the client in because it really helps them to see everything they have. And oftentimes, and this isn't a bad thing, it's just how it is, you know, you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had 8 can openers. I was looking for a can opener. And so then we're able to like declutter and then make it so that their space is, it's easier for them to find things. So we determine new homes for things.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we like to label everything, even if the clients end up taking the labels off after, which is fine. It just helps to train mom, dad, kids, or whoever it is in the house, that every time some, you know, the can opener gets put away, it can go in the same place. So, yep. So we set up systems. And again, it's different for every person. You know, not everybody wants bins or labels, although we encourage them, or so we just kind of feel out the customer, or we use the product that they already have in place, you know, so if they don't want to spend money on the product, etc.
I think it is important, like Anne was saying, to note that we really try to tailor our projects to every client because everybody's different. Everybody lives differently. Different people live in each home. Some things that work for some people don't work for other people. So although there's these overriding kind of tips and tricks that we might have or things we normally go to, we really try to make it function well for that family. And I think a lot of people think organizing is just about making things look pretty, but really we're big on the function. Function is the most important thing. And yes, we want things to be beautiful, but it needs to be functional too. It can't just be a Pinterest picture that looks good in it, but it doesn't actually work at all for your family.
Yeah. So you guys helped me before a move and then move into my new house. And so I would say a couple of things. One is on the decluttering side, what you did with us, which I don't know if you do this with every client, but I thought was very helpful, was you came and you did the consultation and then we had time to work on the decluttering ourselves before you came back. So for me, the garage was the hardest part because I had stored keepsakes and letters and all of these things that are emotional things, not things that I ever use, honestly, but I have an emotional tie to. So I think I spent like weeks in the garage, literally going through like every letter. Rereading things like, do I want to keep it? Do I not want to keep it? The kids' artwork, you name it. And it was a lovely and hard experience because I was going back in time. I was reliving things. You know, this September will be 10 years since my father died. I had letters from my father. You know, and friendships that not that I had forgotten about, but that, you know, we had written letters to each other, which I didn't remember. I sent some of my friends that have been friends with forever, like pictures of things. And they were like, how do you still have these things? And I kept a lot of it, but I went through it. So I slimmed it down, I would say. And then you guys helped me also when you came back to say, okay, keep or, you know,
keep, toss,
or
donate.
So and maybe you can talk about that because I think like the pantry is a little different than those like emotional things. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the process with your clients or give a couple of examples where maybe some people need you to be there the entire time.
Right. So we do help people a lot when they're downsizing. We have a lovely couple who they had lived in the same house 25, 30 years, and they were moving out of state to be closer to family for health reasons. And we worked on and off with them for months, going through every corner of their home. We were so honored to be a part of that because we really got to know who they were as people. And she needed us there every step of the way because she wanted to tell the story about it. And then she also needed to know that it was okay to let it go.
So this is where your psychology degree really comes in handy.
Yes. And a lot of times people they need to be heard.
Yeah.
And I know Emily and I both feel just beyond honored to be a part of that process for people. But then it's such a joyous moment, even though it can be so hard at first to be like, okay, it's okay to let this go. So for example, if you have your grandma's china, right? And it's taking up space and you don't want to move it again.
You're not using it.
And you're not using it ever. So we tell people, we'll pick out just a few pieces that maybe you can use, as like nut, as a nut bowl when you have friends over, or as a jewelry
creamer
bowl,
or something,
the
sugar.
A few special pieces that would feel special to you. And then you'll actually use them.
Yeah.
But then how wonderful to pass them along to somebody who will actually use them.
Yeah.
It's hard with keepsakes. It's hard when people are going through transitions in their lives. And by no means do we make people give things away.
No, of course not.
Yeah. So we encourage where we can tell there's a little bit of movement. But if it's a hard stop, we just bin it, we label it, and it's fine to hold on to those things.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to declutter.
No.
And when we say declutter, not just pull it out and organize it, but get rid of things.
Right.
Some people do. That's number one on their list. And some people we already know going in, that's not happening.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of organizing things in the space and not decluttering. We encourage decluttering, especially if you're overflowing out of your space or you're feeling this overwhelming sense of anxiety about stuff, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
The number one thing you can do to organize is to declutter and get rid of things.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling guilty because it's a keepsake, that's one thing. If you're feeling guilty because of waste, there's so many opportunities to re-gift, donate, pass down, sell, even if you need to make money. There's ways to do that. But declutter, by starting with decluttering, that's like the number one thing. If you want to get organized, start with decluttering.
And similar to you, Ashley, if people know that we're coming, it can sometimes light the fire of, okay, these girls are coming. Let's try to prep as much as we can.
Yeah.
And, or knowing that we're sitting there and we are charging an hourly rate.
Yes, I think it helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
because
does.
You're being held accountable, and we're happy to sit there all day and help you with decisions, but we also don't want to waste people's time or their money. So it can sometimes be a really slow process, but then all of a sudden people really start picking up and understanding, like, okay, I actually can do this. It's like sometimes just taking that first step is all you need. And then you realize, wait, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of the less emotional things like the pantry and the closet, because I was actually, I think, surprised how much peace that brought me too. Like I knew it was going to be hard to go through the keepsakes, but I also knew it was going to be fruitful. But to me, what was fascinating about like the closet and the pantry was two things. One is, let's take the closet. And my husband, I remember, was like, he didn't want to do it at first. And then he was so happy that he did it. So for example, my husband used to wear a suit and a tie every day before we moved to Park City. And now he maybe does that once a year.
Right.
So he had all of these suits and all of these ties, and you both really helped him slim it down to
such a good job.
He did an excellent job.
Yes.
He did an excellent job. And I don't think he realized like how good that would feel. Mm-hmm. And the same thing for me. And I think for me, it's a little bit different. It's like, oh, that's going to fit again someday, or that'll come back in style someday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And or something that you really loved that you want to hold on to, which maybe can go in a keepsake bin, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
So getting rid of it gets it out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak to that.
But it's funny. We've never had an instance where people have regretted, or at least that they've let us know that they've gotten rid of something.
That's a good point.
And if we're going through like mudrooms or closets and it's a multi-day project, they'll even say, I don't even remember what I got rid of.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about, and I understand in Park City because we have to be prepared for so many different types of weather situations. But so we have a lot of outerwear and a lot of gear, but there's a point in which you just don't need that much.
Right.
And so, they just don't remember. We do have a rule that if you're not sure and you're really not ready to get rid of it, put it in a bin and label it. And if you haven't thought about it or missed it, and you can either have 6 months to a year, then it's time to let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or the hanger idea.
Yeah, and I've heard this from other organizers, and it's a good idea as far as a closet. If you have your hangers all hanging one way, and you wear something, turn the hanger around when you hang the item back up, turn it around so it shows that you've worn it, or you can start with them all hanging one way and turn them around. And then after, make sure you know your start date, like write it down somewhere. And after 6 months to a year, usually here it's good to do a year because you get through all the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
See how many of those hangers are turned or not, and then really evaluate, am I going to wear that or not? Because a year is a long time to hold on to something. Yeah. It's not a bad idea,
this is
right?
Great.
But that's one way to keep track of closet items that you're using or not using. I think for me, when you're saying like pantries and closets, it was so cathartic for you. I think it's because you use that space every day.
Yeah, for sure.
So it literally has an effect on your life every day, especially, and I hate to stereotype moms and dads, but moms, like we're usually the ones stocking the pantry, usually doing the cooking, usually buying the clothes for our kids and us, and even, helping to keep everything up. I think that having those everyday spaces organized, and they don't have to be perfect all the time. It's never going to be perfect all the time, but having them organized to be a space that you come into and you feel like, I can breathe in here and I can find things and I have a system in place. It's huge on your everyday affect. Because if you're having a crappy day and you come in and everything is out of place and all over, that's just make it worse.
Completely. And the kitchen, I think it's interesting because still my husband we'll use something, he'll clean it. Where does this go? And I'm like, well, obviously this is where it goes, but I am using it more. Right. Yeah. But things like you guys did an amazing job with my spices. So I can see every single spice and put it right back.
Yes.
And just the little bins and the way that you organize the things that I'm using, I know where to put them back. Right. So one question, I think this is probably that I'm typical, but once you come and organize, let's say a pantry and a kitchen, do you find or do you hear that your clients are able to stick with that organization? Like, do you ever go back and kind of check up on your clients?
We do refreshes for people.
Okay.
Because people have very busy lives.
Yeah.
And pantries, for the most part, they do work. We do sometimes have clients that say, oh, you know what? I ended up using this bin more for something. Could you just drop off a new label? Because we're going to use this for something different, which is great. And that's the thing. Like, we want people to obviously use what we've set up.
Yeah.
But the caveat is, if it's not working for you, we can either come in and adjust. We can drop off new labels for the clips or whatever it is. But that happens very infrequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people say they're able to maintain the system.
Yes.
Like Anne said, some people will hire us to do a refresh quarterly or seasonally, but that usually has to do with turning over your spring and summer clothes to fall and winter here. Like if people don't have space for everything to be out in certain places, or seasonally, like doing a seasonal update or refresh, switch out, swapping out seasonal items. And some homes we do a little refresh, but pantries are more rare. I think people are able to keep up with them or yes. Yeah. And we want people to, if like Anne said, if there's a better system for them with labels or something else, let us know. We're happy to go back and make adjustments. But for the most part, we hear people just really, once we set it up, they're able to maintain the system, which they like.
Yeah.
So, and that's our goal.
Yeah.
And the amount of time and then money it saves people in the long run too, because you're not always looking for something, nor are you buying multiple items of the same thing.
Especially pantries.
Yes, because you know where to find it.
Yeah.
You don't need more chicken stock because you have, 18
you can see it
right there. And that's the key, is making sure that everything is visual.
Yeah.
We find that helps a lot. And that's a good point in like why we try to keep things decluttered, because if something's cluttered, then you don't have it visually. It's not clear as to what you need or don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And overall that reduces cost and waste if you're using what you actually have.
Right.
And not overbuying, like Anne said, or forgetting what you have and then it expires.
Right.
Especially in a pantry.
Yeah.
Same thing with clothes. Yep. You can see what you have in a closet or a mudroom, winter gear. My kids need 2 more pairs of gloves. Nope, they don't. They have all of them. So
Yeah. Why do you think most of us fail to achieve what your services help us to achieve on our own? Is it that without the impetus of a move or some external force or paying for it, that it's too much emotional work to sift through the objects and clothing and keepsakes? Is it that we already have like levels of denial about how our lives and bodies change over time and trouble making peace with that? Is it that we think we don't understand the peace it could actually bring us to do the work and like live in a more organized state? What do you think?
all of the above.
Yeah. And there's so many other more fun things to do than to sit down and organize. And I think people feel overwhelmed, right? If you take everything out of your closet, like what we like to do, and I know we didn't do that with you because you were moving, but you cross that boundary where you're in decision fatigue, right? And you're like, I can't deal with this. And then, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff that's out of my closet. And now I need to go pick up the kids. You can get overwhelmed very easily, in addition to all of the things that you mentioned.
It's overwhelming. For me, the biggest thing I think keeps people from doing it is, one, it's another thing on your list of all the things. And then 2, it's overwhelming. And you start, like a lot of people are good at starting it and then don't quite finish it. Because it's almost like, it is like a renovation. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because you really, in order to do a really effective job on a space that has a lot of stuff, you do need to pull everything out, categorize, go through, take the time to declutter, then set up the space and put it back. So it's kind of a multi-step process. And especially if you've got little kids at home or you're working, whatever it is in life, it's just another thing to do. And it takes a while to set those systems up well. And I think sometimes people get ahead of themselves and they buy all the fun products and want it to work, and it doesn't work because they didn't first go in and organize the space or measure. So it can be very easy to get frustrated quickly. We always, tell people to start small if they're going to do it on their own, because it's just tackling a big space.
Drawer.
Takes time. It's just a drawer, a shelf, your purse, your car, and little tackle the little everyday things and get those victories under your belt before you move on, because it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, like you were saying, and like you just see a space and you know what to do, and we don't all have that skill.
Right.
So I think that's another part, is there's the overwhelm and all of the emotional things. And then there's like, I wouldn't even know what to do.
Start. Yeah.
And then the other piece of the puzzle, it's easy for us because we're not attached to
Right.
It's so easy when you live in your space, you see it every day, to get stuck thinking, this is what goes here, this is what goes here. And we come in with these all new perspectives of the space and like, oh, wouldn't it be great if this was here? And people are like, I never thought of that. Yeah. It's the same thing. I'm the same way at my own house. It's hard for me to step outside and think what else would work better.
Okay. What mindset or attitude does a client need to come into the process with to be successful?
I think an open mind, first of all, and just be okay that things are going to get worse before they get better, and that things are going to change. You have to be okay with things changing.
Yeah. Now, do you find, people have reached out to you. So is that an indication that they have an open mind? Or sometimes do you find they actually don't have an open mind, even though they've taken the step to reach out?
Very rarely they don't have an open mind.
Okay.
Usually by the time they've reached out to us, I think they're at the point where they're like, okay, I'm ready to do this, or I have a specific project in mind. And then I think hopefully what we tend to find is once we do our consult, I think that sometimes alleviates a lot of people's nervousness about people coming into their home, and people are always apologetic about their messy space. And we're like, this is why we're here. We wouldn't have a business if you weren't the normal. And it's not just about mess. It might just be too much stuff. Like I just have too much stuff. I have kids and I've accumulated all this stuff and I need help getting out of it. But I think by the time people reach out, they're open to us coming in their home. I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 clients where we got there and the plan changed drastically because they were not ready.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
It is okay.
We've had people that have referred friends and I don't know why they haven't reached out. And I said, you have to be ready. And that is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
We are here when they are, if and when they are.
Yeah.
But the other big thing I think is that people need to let go of shame, is because they feel like we're coming in and we're going to judge them. And it's back to the hotter the mess, the bigger the success, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that that person is struggling, they're stressed. Not that I'm excited that they're feeling
Right,
that way,
right,
but
right,
I know
right.
that we can bring them.
We're going to make a huge difference in that
Yeah.
case.
So I don't look at it as a bad thing. I think it's just such big opportunity.
And I think too, people again, like think they're, you know, they want things to look perfect for other people. And we've talked about this on previous episodes about not having people over sometimes because their house is not perfect and getting over that. I get nervous about that because I am the organizer. And so then having my friends over, I'm like, oh my gosh, my house is not always perfect. I have all these systems set up that I love and I can put things back quickly. I think people though get nervous about this perfection, but it's not about perfection. It's about making your daily life easier and having your space be a space you want to be, because it's not a disaster all the time. You know? And when it does become a disaster because life happens, it can be reset quickly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think those are great takeaways for people. So do you have any favorite either low cost or DIY processes or solutions that people can do at home who may not be able to afford a professional, or if they're not sure yet, they're not yet convinced? So maybe it's like starting with a drawer or like a small project. I mean, I just recently did my purse again and it's like, it does feel really good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I think one drawer at a time, one space at a time. If you have young kids, like even just going through and either if you want to save their smaller clothes, if you're having more children or whatever, just to remove that out of the mix and bin it and put it in your garage or somewhere that you have room to store, or even just gathering keepsakes and binning those and getting those out of the regular mix of your day can really help ease the burden of a home.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you wanted to share with our listeners?
I mean, we touched on the don't be ashamed to have us in your house. It's literally, it is so normal to have spaces in your home that drive you crazy and that maybe you can't tackle on your own and you just want that little bit of help.
Yeah.
No shame in asking for that help.
So can you each share an object from your life, whether you still have it or not, that holds meaning for you, and share why?
This is a tricky one because I actually have quite a few things, but I have a crazy quilt that my mom gifted me. It used to be the tree skirt for our Christmas trees. And crazy quilts were popular in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so the crazy quilts are all the scraps left over from the apparel. Cool. And so these women would get together and stitch together these quilts that have all the different materials and then the latest, greatest stitching patterns of that time frame. And so I have one that my mom gave me that was started in 1897 and finished in 1901. And the dates are actually stitched on the quilt. And it's huge. It's probably 6+ feet wide and almost 7 feet tall. And I have it framed in a wall in my home. And I love it. And every time I go and I look at it, I see a new stitch or a new fabrication presents itself in there. And I just feel so incredibly honored that I have that piece of history and just how intricate and interesting it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I will never get rid of that. That will never be decluttered from my home.
That's amazing. Yeah, I want to come see it.
Anytime. It is just, it's a really special piece.
That sounds amazing. There had been this woman in San Francisco, we lived in San Francisco at the time, who had made baby blankets. And my stepmom and I asked if she could make blankets from my dad's clothing for all of us. So the kids and the grandkids each have a blanket. It's not as big, but we each have a blanket. And we took all of these different pieces of my dad's clothing, from ties to the Madras shirt he wore all the time. And we made these amazing blankets for everybody in the family.
That gives me chills, Ashley. Yeah. That is such a great idea. Amazing idea. That is, wow.
It's really special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emily?
So my mom's family is from Iran. And I've never been there. My mom's barely been back since they came over in the 1960s. And so the few things that I have from my grandma and my great grandma that my mom has given to me, from Iran are my favorites. I have one in particular that's this little vase. It almost looks like a perfume vase, but it's a little decanter even. Okay. It's green and it's got roses painted on it, and it's even got like a little chip in it. But I used to see it sit in my grandma's house every time we went, and I just remember it being on this bar area in her house every time we'd visit her. And I remember my mom telling me how much I loved it many, many, many years ago. I just loved it. And she pulled it aside for me years ago and gave it to me when my grandma was passing away. My parents were taking care of her. It's so special to me because I remember it from my childhood. And there's a few items like that my mom has given to me that were either hers, but were probably my grandma's before, my great grandma's, that have been gifted to me. And I think they're so meaningful because they've been handed down from generation to generation, but also because they're from a place that I've never been, that my family's from, and I probably won't ever go, to be honest, just because of safety reasons. So I love those items, but that one in particular, it's sitting on my little bar in my house next to our decanter of whiskey.
Can you each share a favorite tradition with us? Could be something that you did as a kid, something you do with your families, anything at all.
Since moving to Park City, my sister lives here in town as well. So when we moved here, our kiddo was 4 years old. And every year, the day after Thanksgiving, we go down to the garden store in Salt Lake, which if you haven't been there.
Not been.
Warden Child.
Yeah, Warden Child, the garden store.
Okay.
The day after Christmas. It is the most incredibly beautiful store, and their ornaments are just exquisite.
Oh, I can't wait.
Go there every year and pick out an ornament, and then also to Modern Display to pick out an ornament. And then we typically...
Day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
right?
Was that
you
what
said
I said?
Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
Day after Thanksgiving.
The day after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
That's what we do to prepare for the Christmas season.
Okay.
My sister, my kiddo, and I, the three of us go down there and do that. And then it's especially special when my mom is in town. And then we also go and see the windows at the Grand America.
Does this mean that you have an eclectic Christmas tree?
I do, very much so.
We have the same thing.
Yes.
I love it.
I do too.
So you put your new ornaments on every year?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's a lot of ornaments. You must have quite a lot.
It is. Because every year there's some that go as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's part of the decluttering.
Mine is just growing so far.
Yes.
It's just growing.
If someone comes in, someone has to go.
Got it. There are rules.
There are rules. But it's really sweet because even this past year, and our kiddo who's 15, or who was 15 at the time.
Yeah.
My sister called and said, "Do you still want to do this?" And he's absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So
hopefully forevermore.
I hope so. Yeah.
Great tradition.
We have a couple, there's a couple traditions, and the two that I love, and actually your family introduced me to one of them. Her sister every year she would host like a cousin. So her older sister is my husband's aunt. Okay. So by marriage, like her sister married into my husband's family, and then I married into his family. Like, so anyway, we're kind of removed, but we are like,
we're family.
And her kid is like my kid's cousin, basically.
Okay.
And her sister hosts a gingerbread building before Christmas every year for the kids. So first it started with her own children, Chris's children, who are grown and gone now, but if they're home, they'll participate.
Okay.
And then her son and my sons will do gingerbread building together.
Okay.
So
does she make the gingerbread?
No, she'll buy the home.
Right.
Yes. And they'd sit around and do that. So that's one. And the other one is also my husband's grandmother would make coffee cake. We have coffee cake every Christmas morning when we're opening
I love
gifts.
Those traditions.
And I make the coffee cakes now, but it's a really big tradition in his family. And I kind of adopted it because it was so important to him. And I think your sister does the same because it's the same family. Yes. Her sister does it for her husband.
Is it like a special recipe?
It is. It's a family recipe. It takes like 2 days to make because the dough has to rise. I'm not a baker. I like to cook, don't like to bake, but I do this every year. And my husband, it's really meaningful to him. Yeah. And my kids now love it. And so it's this fun tradition. It's one of my favorites, but both of them are wrapped in with her family, actually.
Right. And my sister makes one for our family. So
you do it?
She has a coffee cake too.
My friend Libby, one of my closest friends, she is also not a baker, but she makes homemade cinnamon rolls for Christmas every year that take like 2 days to make. And I've had them and they are amazing.
And it's not a difficult recipe. It's just the time. And in Park City, her sister had to figure out the rising
Right.
ingredients.
Yeah, with the elevation.
So when I moved here, she had Anne came to my house and I was there and Chris was there and Chris was teaching us. And she has tweaked all of the.
She's got it all.
So I didn't have to figure it out. So
you should send out the recipe for your holiday gifts if you ever do that for your clients.
That's a good idea.
I don't know.
That's
I don't know
really
if my
good
in-laws
idea.
would like that.
It's a secret recipe?
It's a family. No, I'm
Okay,
sure
okay.
it'd be fine. We've done that. I've done that with my husband's family for over 20 years.
I love it. Are you both at a phase in your life when you enjoy entertaining in your homes? Why or why not?
I like to entertain, but it needs to be small. I used to like to throw large parties, and I'm at a small, intimate dinner party phase.
In your season. That's your season.
Yeah, that's my season.
And do you do dinners or more like appetizers or dessert or?
I typically do dinners
Yeah.
and dessert.
I want to get back to that. I used to do dinner parties too. And I think they're so wonderful. And I had a really interesting conversation with a woman named Susan Turnbull who does something called ethical wills, which is basically just like intentional communications to leave to loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about her dinner parties and she tries to have like a question, which I've done. There's another book called The Art of Gathering that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. And she talks about that too. And especially for smaller dinner parties, I find that can work really nicely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's at this season of my life, it's more important for me to have like really rich, and deep conversations as opposed to.
And having these questions helps with that.
Yes.
Because it helps people get below sort of the surface.
Absolutely.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
How about you?
I love to entertain. I think it's in my blood, being half Persian. But I will say the more we work, I think the less I entertain.
Yes.
But one thing I love, and I have taken inspiration from Anne and her sister, is when we get together, we do more like a potluck style. Like, not always. I mean, whoever's hosting does the most work.
Right.
But for sure, it's like, what can we bring? Have people bring things. Don't feel like you have to do the whole thing yourself. And then also my close friends that I see regularly that our kids are the same ages and stuff. I think we're starting to get past I don't care that if my house is dirty or messy, but I think that has kept me for some years not doing that. And my house is fine. My house is fine actually.
Right.
But getting over that perfection of like being the hosting to perfection and just having a fun gathering. That's the stage I'm getting to now, where I want to be.
Good.
But I do love to entertain.
It's just about being together.
Yeah.
That's really, that. And then in Emily's case, she makes delicious Persian meals. Oh my God.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's about being together.
And the food.
And eating Emily's food.
They make good food too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've talked about a few resources, but do you have one or two top resources? They could be books or websites, courses, podcasts, anything that you would recommend. It could be related to organizing, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just like a favorite.
The Instagram. I
love Instagram for the fact that for small business and for the fact that people put so many awesome ideas out there.
Do you have any favorite pages?
Yes.
Okay.
So I actually narrowed down. I really love the Orderly Space.
The Orderly Space. Okay.
Yes, Jennifer Johnson. She's out of the Pacific Northwest,
Okay.
Seattle and Bellingham specifically. Okay. She has a huge following, and she really does a good job of giving tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. I love her as a resource. There's so many organizing sites. The Hoarderly Space is another one, I think.
What?
Or Hoarderly. Yeah.
Orderly.
Is that somebody who hoards?
No.
She doesn't.
Okay.
No.
I think it has combined with the last name even.
Oh, trying
and
not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
And then Organize.
Okay.
Her name is Ria.
Okay.
She wrote a book recently actually about organizing with small children. And when you have small children, things like that. But the reason I like, especially Reorganize and Orderly Space, is they're very realistic. They have a massive following. They share a lot about their families, which I don't think you always have to do. But I think it really then people identify with them.
Yeah, if it works for them, it might work for me.
Normal people, they're not perfect and, but they have great solutions for things and they're willing to be vulnerable and share things that are maybe not perfect about their house or what they, So but Instagram is great for organizing. I think what you have to be careful about is not just looking at the pictures of perfection.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you know, finding the ones who actually share good tips and tricks.
Absolutely.
Things like that.
Yeah, because those moments of perfection were created for the picture.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not how life works.
Right.
You know?
Well, isn't that the epitome of Instagram?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
And Pinterest is
Yeah.
But Jennifer's, isn't her handle on Instagram more her name and less her business?
reorganized.
Oh, it's reorganized.
It's Rhea
Okay.
Safford is her
Okay.
name, but she has it's funny, her business has a site, but it's her personal site that has blown up.
Oh, interesting.
And her business stuff is all on there too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I like them because they're very real. Yeah.
Well, those sound like great
Yeah.
things to look at. I'm just going to call you, but.
That's fine.
Please do.
Last question. What do you do for yourself? Do you have a practice, a focus, a habit, or a daily routine that you adhere to that contributes to your success or well-being?
I walk Round Valley with my 2 dogs pretty much every day, and I work out all the world's problems and my own problems on those trails. In the summer, first thing in the morning, in the winter, later in the day. It's rare that I miss a day. And then also I do just yoga a few times a week, and that really helps to keep things grounded and flowing in my brain. So yeah, those are my must-haves.
The daily coffee would be one.
That works.
Absolutely.
I have always had a hard time with balancing my personal time and work and everything else going on. I usually am up first in the morning, having a little bit of quiet time, which I like, or coffee, or at least up doing things just before my kids are up. And then I do like to do yoga, but I don't do it as often as she does. But that's good too. I think the quiet time for me, having a time away where I don't have somebody calling me or
Needing something.
Yes, all the time
Yeah.
is really important for my brain. And
Yeah.
I'm a better mom and person if I have a little bit of quiet time built into my day.
Yeah.
So yeah, usually in the morning.
Thank you, Anne and Emily. Thank you so much for coming, for talking with us. I really hope what people take away is, one, that this is not just about organization. This is about peace and sort of relief and reducing stress. And also that you can start small. People can call you and do one room or one space. They don't have to do this big, huge, expensive project. And then they can see what that means, see what they can do themselves with some of these tips you've given, or call you and expand it. But I really am such a fan of both of you individually and also your service. I really, really think it's an amazing service that many people, I think, don't truly understand the benefit of. So hopefully they've learned a lot today. I've learned a lot and look forward to our next move together.
Yes. Thank you for having us, Ashley.
It's such a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Yes.
On the Table with Ashley is presented by Amatond, an elevated, everyday, luxury home and tableware brand with products designed to cultivate connection. You can learn more about Amatond at ametendre.com or on Instagram at Amatond. By subscribing to our newsletter on the Amatond website, you'll receive updates on new episodes as well as promotions relating to Amatond and Amatond's products. Send us an email at reachoutanytime@amatond.com if you have ideas for guests or series ideas you'd like to pass along. Thanks for listening.